Seeing that it's 7 p.m., I'd like to call this the regular April meeting of the Webster Township Board of Trustees to order. At this time, those of you willing and able, please stand and recite the pledge of
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have in our packet the March 19 regular meeting minutes, and we have the March 19 public hearing minutes for the budget hearing. If you've had the chance to review those, are there any corrections that need to be made?
And April 3rd special meeting minutes too.
Okay. Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Stuck together. Thank you. And the April 3rd special meeting minutes.
In the budget public hearing, down where Westman spoke, second to the last sentence, it says, "So does Westman have no objections." I think we want to strike "so does." It doesn't make sense. Westman has no objections at being 7%. Can we strike the "so does"?
Okay.
Or would you like a couple typos pointed out?
Sure, you love it. Yep.
Okay. Also on the budget hearing, Sharp's first comment, likewise the office manager, are there? And on page,
Wait, sure. Oh, office. Yeah, we need right here. Okay.
and page 2, under my comments, instead of saying splint, it actually was to split. Delete the end.
Split. Split. Thank you.
And a question related to the March 19th meeting minutes. First page of the last sentence, minutes can be viewed online. Is that meant to be like separate, or looks like it's part of the budget?
Yeah, we just, because we don't post the budget online, as they
Okay.
can just look at it.
All right, so that's intentionally there. All right, thank you.
Any other corrections or comments? Is there some kind of motion?
I move that we accept the minutes from April 3rd for the special board meeting, for March 19th for the budget hearing, and March 19th for the board meeting.
As amended.
As amended, thank you.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll support.
Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, those wishing to approve the minutes as amended for the March 19th regular meeting, the March 19th public hearing, and the special meeting on April 3rd, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Got a couple of brief comments. One is we had our cleanup last Saturday. There were some good things, there were some not so great things. I'm not sure that we got quite as much roadside cleanup done as we wish. We did end up with one tractor tire On Monday, after the tires were picked up, we picked up another 8 tires that somebody just dropped off that we have to deal with. We had some people cleaning out their garages instead of doing the roadside cleanup. However, overall, we got a lot of trash out of the township. One thing of note in the reports that you have the assessor's report. I received a letter from the State Tax Commission telling us that this is the year that we're going to have an audit, and we were expecting that, and requiring us to upload all sorts of files to the State Tax Commission, and that has all been completed with the exception of one file. We're waiting for a certificate to come in next week before we can upload it, and all of our input for the tax commission should be in Lansing for their review. Once that happens, they will notify us when they're actually going to come out and visit with us, or whatever they wish to do based on the data that we've given them. I do have a couple of things to add once Mr. Sharp gives his treasurer's report on anticipated bills before next meeting, because there are going to be surprises for him. That's all I have for right now. Agenda. Is there anything that needs to be added or deleted from the agenda?
I'll move the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Call to the public. Please step forward to the mic, give your name, your address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
My name is Jean Wallace, 5903 Gregory Road. And before, let me preface this by saying, I realize you are not responsible for the roads. I realize the Washington County Road Commission is. But last week, our road was graded the day before the rain came. Rain came and Gregory Road was impassable. And I have an all-wheel drive vehicle. I was going very slow, but I felt like my life was at risk. And this has happened so often on Gregory Road, I just feel like the fates are against us. I understand there's not much you can do, but the bottom line is we pay tax money, and I know that you pay money to the road commission, and somehow or other, this is just like driving me crazy. Just because it's happened. It happens every year. And I don't know whether we as citizens need to contact the road commission and complain that, okay, but I'm letting you know. I usually don't complain very much, but man, oh man, I could not get from our house to Mass Road without feeling like my life was in danger. So, if you ever have any conversations with them, please pass that along. Thank you.
Dave Daly, 7223 Mulder, and I guess I was going to kind of make the same comments, and it isn't just Gregory. Z, with all of the construction and the road blockages and the detours, people are using the dirt roads more. This morning, my son-in-law saw somebody lose their skid plate on the bottom of their car. I mean, it's just, their plan on getting around, and Dexter's got the same issue. I mean, if you take Brand to Quigley, it's the same mess. That road is just a disaster as well. But, I mean, we've got to be talking to the road commission. And then the other comment that I had was, do we not have a freeze date or time or, you know, last call for agendas? I mean, I saw 6 updates on the website today. I couldn't print all of them out. I mean, it's just, there's got to be a cutoff point that we say, this is what we're going forward with the meeting on, and otherwise, you know, you got it under K now, but it'll be to Z by the time the meeting is, and then they'll all be going to 11 o'clock.
I will second that.
We'll second that also, thank you.
Good evening.
I don't think it's on.
Yeah, it doesn't seem so. Well, good evening. Peter Stevens, 7500 Trotters Lane. I'll just orate since months. Okay, sorry. Check, 1, 2. DJ Stevens. Okay, sorry. Okay, first comment, I guess, I came by and dropped off some trash, the Saturday of the road pickup. My God, plastic bottles everywhere. What struck me when I got up here, just to throw it in, is like, there wasn't really anybody here representing the township, just to say, oh, thanks, how you doing, anything like that. Just from, I guess, a community builder standpoint, I was just wondering, like, oh, you know, if John was here, or Barb was here with, like, lemonade, just saying thanks for the good work or something, it might have encouraged more people to take part, I don't know. Second, I guess, just more stuff on the roads. I'm not going to complain about the roads, more just to say that obviously with the work right here on the corner, there's a lot of extra traffic on these back dirt roads. I just wondered if it might be something that you could put out in the newsletter perhaps, just asking residents to please take it slow on these back roads, recognizing that there's going to be a lot more traffic on them right now. Third, I guess last month I reported the Planning Commission meeting. I'm reporting the Board of Trustee meeting tonight. It's being uploaded to YouTube, just to a channel called Webster Concerned Citizen. Just wanted to let everybody know that in case you feel like looking it up. And I think that's all I have to say for this evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, reports, treasurer's report.
Good evening. The good news is that Webster has completed the annual tax collection settlement with Washtenaw County. So we're all signed off and all the pennies are accounted for. Webster has ended our fiscal year on March 31st in strong financial shape. And we are just now beginning the annual audit process with our auditor. So those are my only comments for this evening. And I'm prepared to answer any other questions regarding the other elements of the treasurer's report at this time.
Mr. Sharp, I'd like on your anticipated bills before the May meeting, add 2 items. One would be the fire station final payment of $3,500, and Insight Design Studios, $1,900 for additional work to coordinate with the parking lot project.
Okay. You anticipate the fire station payment before our next board meeting?
Well, maybe, it depends on if in fact they have completed the entire punch list. Until the last item is done, they don't get paid, and it's been 2 years that that payment's been outstanding.
Okay.
Any other comments on the budget? Yes?
I guess not budget specifically, but I'm really curious about the final payment of the fire station. Seemed to me there was a fairly lengthy punch list.
There is probably 8 or 10 things on the list, and there may in fact be a couple of new things, we'll see. I'm trying to arrange with Chief Armstrong and a couple of the actual firefighters that work out of that station, so they know, what the problems are. Many of the problems we had were with door seals on the man doors, that like the boot wash wasn't installed. It was sitting there, but not installed.
And weren't there some concrete tap cracking issues as well?
There were some that were pieces of concrete that were replaced. I don't think there are any new ones, but we'll have to do a walkthrough.
Thank you.
Is there any kind of motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report and pay bills as presented, as well as those anticipated bills received before our next meeting scheduled for May 21st, 2024, including the 2 anticipated bills that Mr. Kingsley cited.
Is there a second?
I'll support.
Any further comments on the treasurer's report? Roll call. Mr. Munzel.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, you have a list of the consent agenda reports. Is there any one of those reports that you wish to take out and examine individually?
I don't need to do a PDR report, but I would just like to call your attention to the annual report that we're required to submit. And I have given you all a copy of it. You can take a look at it. We did 3 projects this year, total of approximately 250 acres. We redid the protected lands map to change the colors so that now our protected lands stand out above everybody else's rather than being subverted to everybody else's. So, thanks to Mr. Simcoe for doing that.
Anything else about the reports?
I'd like to point out that our fire runs are down substantially from January. It looks like we had 45 in January and 21 in March. So that's a good thing.
Anything else? Is there a motion?
I move to receive and file the consent agenda reports.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the approving or filing the consent agenda reports, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, old business, nothing controversial there, road projects. You have a document in front of you tonight that outlines the projects that were proposed at our joint meeting with the Road Commission. And we also requested to revisit the Farrell Road project. That was not on the last copy of this that you received. Discussion on which projects we feel comfortable in doing this year.
Yeah, I would start out that if you look at these 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 projects, 5 of them include shaping the existing surface. 1 does not. That is Chamberlain Road. I can tell you that as long as I've been around here, when we have done these projects, they have always included shaping the surface. And if that is not done, it's just a waste of time to do anything on that road. The berms along the side are a foot high in a lot of places. So unless that whole contour of that is changed, it won't make any difference how much limestone gets dumped on top of it. So I just think it should be done to the same standard that we do other roads. I have asked for traffic studies to help support my contention here, but Road Commission just refuses to give us traffic studies, even though I know them, they have done. Where'd that come from?
You've had it for 2 months,
Is that so?
but Chamberlain Road is not listed.
Well, I know they did it because I talked to them when they were doing it, so.
I don't see it.
Chamberlain Road is listed, but is it the section we need? Is that what's missing? Chamberlain Road's on page 1. East of
Well, that's
River
probably the
Drive.
problem. I start with page 3.
So east of, I assume this is east of Huron, Rivers Drive, right? Says there's 133. Well, they don't have a 2023 rating. So, I mean, it doesn't really make sense unless you can kind of compare it to other traffic, but it also, it is here. You want to see it.
So, I guess what's the source of this document? I've never seen this document.
You've had it a couple of months.
Yeah, we all received it.
It's the road commission, right? We asked them to provide it when they were here for the meeting, and then that's where it came
They
from.
didn't provide it right away, and
Yeah.
we had to remind them, and they finally provided it. What they did not provide us with, that I believe Mr. Sharp requested, was the road projects and the cost of doing those within Webster Township. And what they sent us over were basically these projects that we paid for, not what they spent for routine maintenance within the 41 miles of gravel roads. So we've received some of what they agreed to, but not all of it. Okay, Elder Brown?
In the past, we were dictated what we wanted to see done.
Well, in terms of the agreements that we paid for, but other projects, like routine grading and patching and so on, that's what we're looking to see.
I'm acutely aware of that, but that's not, this would be, these are all for road improvements.
Correct.
And I just think that if we are going to do these improvements, we should do them all to the same standard.
I agree. I agree. So if you look at the average cost per mile of the projects that they've presented to us, There's apples and oranges on this list because some of them are 8 inches and some of them are 6 inches, and Joy Road's a lot wider than Farrell Road, for example. But my estimate of if we did Chamberlain, the whole 1.5 miles, the full job, I believe that they would come back with a number between $230,000 and $260,000, based on the averages of these other projects.
Okay, do we want to fix any of these roads?
So my first choice on all of these projects is to finish what we started last year. We did 1 of the 2 miles of Joy Road. I think we should do the second of the 2 miles of Joy Road. And that way, all of the unpaved portion of Joy Road in Webster Township would have been done within the 2-year cycle. So for me, that's the number 1 priority.
What is the budget that we allocated this year?
400, I believe.
Yes.
So if you wanted to spend more, last month the board authorized me to transfer $600,000 to the capital improvement fund, and we transferred the road project cost center to the capital improvement fund. The current balance of that fund is $1.465 million. We need to do an amendment. I'm going to propose an amendment later this evening. The current budget for the parking lot project is $450,000. The actual proposed cost is $842,000, and that includes a 10% contingency. If we are precisely on budget with the parking lot, that leaves $623,000 in the capital improvement fund. So if we wanted to spend with abandon, we could spend up to $600,000 on roads if that's what we chose to do.
But we budgeted 400,000, we should probably use that as a target of projects that we wish to do. And then if we see later on in the year that we need to do something more, it'd be appropriate to take it out of the rest of the CIP.
I think using the same logic that John applied to the Joy Road scenario, you can look at Walsh Road, where we worked a few years ago on the western portion, and this would start on the eastern portion.
I'm in favor of Farrell.
Yeah, my thoughts on that, Dan, is that what they've proposed on Walsh is 1/3 of what's remaining to be done. And I think they're thinking that we would do it over a period of 3 years. John and Barb and I are going to be meeting with the road commission to talk about proposed projects for local roads using the 4-year millage funds. I would personally prefer to lobby to do all of that stretch of Walsh using that 4-year millage money, if we could do that. I don't know if we can or not, but that's kind of where my head is.
Well, I do agree with the Joy Road work. That probably is seeing some additional wear and tear from the extra traffic from construction closures. And it's a pretty busy road.
It's a big road.
Start.
We get a lot of locked up pine traffic and traffic that goes all the way through to Whitmore Lake Road.
The Farrell Road projects were resurrected from last year's proposed packet of projects. There are two. One is from Webster Church to Z. The other is from Webster Church the other way to Jennings Road. I think that both of those are two parts of worn out roads.
Well, and likely to suffer more during this construction period, right? You know, use that time.
Yeah, I think that comment was very real.
It's definitely gonna suffer.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, just taking it, and it's the locals that know it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really what it is, because I take those.
yeah.
And, I mean, Farrell got a little bit better because they graded it.
We graded it today.
Yeah, but we got rain coming again tomorrow.
That's
So-
They
that's
graded
the best
it,
way to predict it.
they graded it
Well-
last week and it rained.
I think some of the concern is, and it's probably a discussion, and it may lead to nothing, but we need to have the road commission, is the traffic is going to be going down that. You're gonna see it coming down Scully, you're gonna see it coming down Gregory from Scully, you're gonna see it from the other way. And those roads are gonna get pounded.
I'm in favor of Farrell.
So I'm just wondering if they shouldn't pony up a little bit extra for some of this. I mean, and we're looking at Farrell going down to Jennings, but that's gonna be a cut through, and because of their detours, it's gonna hurt. So I don't know if they're gonna do any reinforcing of the roads that they graded them. They obviously graded them knowing that that's gonna be an issue. But for tomorrow, it's gonna be bad then.
Yeah, I think you're concerned with many of the roads, but Farrell, there are stretches where, you know, the roadbed is a foot and a half lower than the adjacent, you know, land. There's nowhere for water to go.
And people are gonna figure that out real quick, so they don't have to wait for that light.
Well, and they're grading it, and they're not compacting it, you know, so it's all soft right now.
So definitely Farrell's gonna need it. Joy makes sense. That just gets a lot of traffic, just period.
Those three are from 53.
Which three, both parts of Farrell?
Both Farrell and Joy would be 453.
Well, one comment I would make is that, while I could complain about the road commission for the rest of the night and all day tomorrow, as far as I can tell, looking at the history, they come in under their estimates every time. So if we agree to projects that total 453, there's a really good chance it'll come in under 400.
Well, we still have culverts this year too,
We do.
so.
We do. Although I attended the working session today of the road commission from 9 until 11:30, and they made a recent change, and I don't know if this affects our culvert projects or not, but they've increased the diameter of culvert that they are willing to pay for 100%.
The Walsh Road, does anybody know, does that go down past the bridge? Or is it, I mean, it's easterly, so it's from Mass towards that bridge, and that, I wouldn't be in favor of doing anything until that, we work on getting that bridge fixed.
I don't think, basically it's a mile. The bridge is further than a mile down Waltz Road, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know, it's down and up the hill, so.
Corky, how far is the bridge from Mass Road?
Approximately a mile.
That would be my guess, between a mile and a mile and a half.
That would have been my guess too.
So it'll probably take us right to the bridge. Any other comments? I would suggest that we do Jennings Road, Joy Road, Jennings to the pavement, Farrell Road, Webster Church to Jennings, and Farrell Road, Webster Church to Zeeb, for a total of $453,000, and we'd have to do a budget amendment to accommodate that.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Further discussion?
Not as fun as buying a roof, isn't it? As fun as buying a new roof.
That's so true.
Just further discussion, John, we all know Chamberlain needs it. So the fact of the matter is, we don't do it this year. We should have, regardless of who's going to be on the board next year, we should have them prepared to give us an estimate of what it's going to cost
To do the
We should-
entire
to
road.
do the whole thing,
Yeah,
what they need to do.
yeah.
Take down the curbs, they're going to have to take down trees, they've got to do a lot of work to shape that road.
Okay, other comments? Okay, seeing none, we've got a $453,000 motion on the table. Mr. Harm?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, social media policy. Shirley, you want to take this?
Sure do. Okay, you did get something that was not included in the packet because it came to me too late, which you do not. So as a result of that, we may want to wait to discuss the social media policy. Actually, Mr. Westman, I need that packet back from you because my notes are on the back of it. Not this one, the road commission one.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, that one. Thank you. So the additional document you got today with the red on it, Mr. Kingsley gave the social media policy to Mike, and so what you see in red are Mike's comments and his comments about the policy. So before we talk about that, I really want to just say the focus of the policy, as I see it, in thinking this over, is really about how personnel, and we need to define what that means, and we use a couple of different words throughout this, but let's say personnel for now, communicate when we are representing the township or when we could be construed as representing the township. So this would include our email or verbal, contact that we have with people, but also a section about social media, because even if we think we are not representing the township on social media, we often are easily construed. That is an easy assumption somebody could make in reading what we say. So to that extent, you have feedback that Mike offered, which some of the feedback is great, but it's not related to, it's not germane to the policy of us publicly communicating or representing the township. So, some examples are like, we need a progressive discipline policy. We need and I'm not saying we don't have these are just some of the feedback. We need to talk about passwords. We need a process for handling suspicious correspondence. None of that is related to what the purpose of this policy is. So that being said, we could continue on and take into consideration his feedback as we move forward, or if we would like to not, we can move this into the next month. But I also want to put out there that in between the last two meetings and in between us sort of discussing this, some more inappropriate sort of activities have happened on social media. So those are kind of that's sort of, where we are with it. If we want to wait on some parts of it, so you have a little bit of time to process his comments, there are a few things that we could work on tonight that don't really entail his comments that I would like to clarify and move forward with, so that's another option. So, how does the board feel?
Comments?
Did you want to talk about that training opportunity?
Yeah, on April 18th, the Schultz Group is going to have a webinar at noon that we have been invited to register for. And it's not exactly the focus of what this document's about, but what it's about is First Amendment rights versus what the township can do in terms of dealing through social media. For example, somebody says something we don't like, can we block them? Type thing. I'm not sure that that webinar is going to be overly helpful in terms of determining this policy, but I think it would be worthwhile to see what the rest of the world is dealing with, that Peggy Schultz is having to deal with in terms of their practice. In terms of the document, I think one thing we could discuss tonight and get it out of the way, because it's kind of haphazard in here. I'm thinking that we need to clarify who this covers. Some places we say employees, but I think it needs to cover us as a board. It needs to cover the Planning Commission, ZBA, any committees of the township, and those paid employees that are regular employees. I don't know if we can extend it to like election workers, because they're technically employees. I wouldn't want to have to educate each election worker on how to deal with social media.
I was actually thinking, agreeing with you on all of that, that it could apply to anyone who has a Webster Township email address. Right? Because in some ways, they have access to some parts of our technology then, right? And so it's elected officials, ZBA has it, some appointees have it, Planning Commission has it, direct employees have that. So that might be one way to discern it.
I think what we need to do is just list all these groups of people and then use one word throughout the document to describe them, like you would
Yeah,
purchase agreement
exactly.
or whatever.
Do you think that, because I have exactly thought the same thing, do we think the word that describes them as personnel, do we think it's representative? I don't know, the personnel works, right? And then we'll just define that.
We could have a paragraph or a section that defines exactly who the people are.
That's the scope.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna fix the scope to say that. Because that was actually one of the things on my list we could work on, without having to take into consideration any feedback. But yeah, so the scope would say, it applies to Webster Township personnel, and then I would say, Webster Township personnel include elected officials, employees, planning commissioners, ZBA appointees. Are there other appointees that would apply to?
No, I think that about everybody is either elected or appointed. So,
Some people are
yeah, plus
Employees, right,
yeah.
actual employees.
Yeah.
So that's the 4 categories: elected employees, ZBA appointees, planning commission. What about
Committees too.
committees? That's what I was saying, Sarah. Committee appointees. What about
He is a contractor. Good point.
That's where I kind of was like, people, because other contractors wouldn't necessarily apply, but
So by mowing the lawn, you could say that.
yeah, we don't care.
Well, we care, but in terms of
No.
how we control that, if
Yeah.
we've got a written agreement,
Right.
yeah, we can terminate the agreement probably. That's the only control we have.
Okay. One of the other questions I had was, here, I have a few other questions that maybe we can answer today. Social media here is broadly defined as the internet-based communications technology that provides immediacy, interactivity, and the sharing of information across multiple platforms. But I looked up a more current version of the definition, and it's websites and applications that enable users to create and share content or to participate in social networking. I think that's probably a little better,
Yes.
because that covers also aspects of the social media apps like messaging and the parts of it that, you know, build out. One other thing that I'd like to redo, because now that we've really kind of thought over what this means, is the policy statement. That originally this policy was really focused, it was kind of a mismatch of a lot of different things. It had some security stuff in it had some technology stuff in it. So I really have tried to just focus it more on our communication using technology. So I'd like to have the policy statement be a little bit more representative of that, so it really clearly states that you, that when you are in the public eye, there are situations where your opinion, I don't have it worded right, but like, you represent the township, right? And so sometimes what you say could be construed as being the view of the township. You have to be aware of that type of thing, right? Not everything, obviously, but, so just making that a little bit more clear in that initial paragraph, and I'll wordsmith that, but if everyone's okay with that, I'd like to move in that direction a little bit. So it sets up these communication and social media procedures a little better.
So Shelley, will that, maybe reduce some of the confusion within this?
I think so, yeah.
I mean,
This,
I read this and I really don't know what it means.
it was in there, and I don't know, and this was a policy we took and tried to remaster, and so, you know, like I said, I think that will help. I think that'll help redirect it a little bit.
Yeah, I know you spent a lot of time working on this. Have we researched to see other township policies that may be out there?
Other townships do not have policies related to this. Their social media policies are very specific related to, well, I couldn't find them. They're specifically related to media, social media that they run. So when I look for examples, that's what it was. I have written 3 or 4 social media policies for nonprofit organizations. And I sort of closely paid attention to what was going on with the Webster Board of Education when social media was a huge issue and they were involved with that. So that's a frame of reference for us locally.
Kelly, you might want to talk to people at HR at the county, because there were issues, they had some issues and redid theirs about 5 years ago.
I'll see if I can find their policy then and just look at the county one.
Yeah.
Mine is, you know, based on lots, I mean, I've had social media training to write policies. It's a little different, of course, when you're an elected official. But, so, and I think too, whatever we determine, and our attorney should, of course, review, but.
And I've got another comment that hopefully might be cleared up by the revision of the policy statement, but further down, under electronic communication procedures, the new item C states that all of the information systems are the property of the township, but as it's currently defined, information systems includes the internet and social media, which, you know, I don't think you can claim ownership of the internet
change, so it won't matter.
Here we go.
I think, well, and some of the information systems we use are not the property of us either. And some are owned by Washington County, some are software that we use, right? We purchase it, we have the right to use it, or we have access rights to it. But I do think that we should say something to the effect of, when you access a service that we give you access to, you have a responsibility to use it. Basically, anytime you access a service that we pay for, we usually have to sign something. And you get a password and you have to agree that you'll follow the rules, you know.
That's usually provided by or
Yeah,
licensed.
the licensee, right, the licensor, yeah. So that's good advice, I'll fix this one too.
And looking at C, going just beyond that, including personally installed software, we don't allow anybody to put their own stuff on our computers.
So you don't allow them to put a password manager on their computer, or Asana project management software, or nothing to the effect of a software that they would use on a daily basis to
I would
work?
think that we would not want to do that, and if it's a password software, we would want the township to provide it, as opposed to you going to one of our computers and putting your own on there, just in case. We try to do everything through BC3. Used to be IT Right, to make sure that we don't get another ransomware attack. And I don't know anything about password software in terms of how legitimate a given program is.
Right.
So we would say BC3, we need this software, you know,
And they would say, okay. So any software that gets installed,
should be,
it gets permission, basically whatever it is. So is the system set up to block installation? It doesn't need an administrative password?
I don't know the answer to your
I
question.
think you need to be the administrator.
Yeah,
I think so too.
yeah.
Not that I've tried it or anything.
Okay, so we'll just take out the personally installed piece of the puzzle. Some other things that are interesting, and I think, I don't think that Mike's comments are actually accurate, we might want to check on this, but if I use my personal phone for business, and I text about business back and forth to somebody, right, on my personal phone, I believe that, in the nonprofit world anyway, if I'm sued or information is requested, if I use my personal phone for business, that is up for grabs. They can access my phone. So if you use your personal phone for business, it's possible that it could be part of a FOIA investigation, right, or a FOIA request. That's how it should work.
Either way.
Or a subpoena, which is why I put it in here. So I think Mike's comment is that if I use my personal cell phone and you don't pay for it, then it's not relevant, but it is relevant, or it could be relevant in a subpoena. So I just wanted to point that out. Under social media procedures, letter B, I think there needs to be a little bit of clarity, or maybe there doesn't. I'm not quite sure about, especially as there's an election coming up. If we're campaigning doesn't mean I am representing the township. Campaign means I'm representing my vested interest in remaining on it, right? As long as I'm not divulging information that I shouldn't because I gained it, with my authority while I was on the township, or I guess I'm just looking to make sure B is a little bit, is clear about that. B under social media procedures.
And I'm sure you are aware, you
Oh, yeah, I'll change all that. Yeah, yeah, there's an issue there. That was why it was on the list.
Thank you.
Are there, when we look at it, so I can sort of clean it up a little bit for the next time we see it? Do you see on the last page of the document, we have deleted C, D, E, F, and G. Does anyone have any objections to any of those being deleted? I guess F and G too, if you look on the bottom.
I question F. Whether that should be,
Which,
Yeah, which,
Up on the last page? Oh,
there's two
Um,
Fs.
no, there are, right.
above discipline. Well, there's
Use of
two
social
Fs.
media?
There's two Fs.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How it did
The
that,
first
that's
F.
interesting. So you question employees may not utilize email messages as a secure and confidential
Yeah,
means?
that's a security issue. It's not truly social media issue.
That's what's crossed out.
Yeah. The purpose of the original 318 was, is sort of a hodgepodge of anything electronic,
right,
as opposed to specifically dealing with
yeah.
social media and official representation.
Well, I am married to a security IT person, and I have a security IT certificate, and so I don't agree that that should be in this policy at all. I really do think we need a separate security policy, because there's some, we need to catch up a little bit on some of that piece of the puzzle.
You may have to lean on your husband.
I can write it, but yeah, I do think that we need security policies about how we use our passwords. I feel like we're not using them accurately. There's some mistakes going on that we need to up our game on. And we need to make, we already, IT Right actually, or whatever the new name is, has probably implemented quite a few security things for us, especially after the situation we had. But there are definitely things on our end we can do to increase the security and reduce the risk of that happening again. We get emails all the time that are trying to socially engineer us, right? Email at the township. So I think we need to have that. I just don't think the lot's here.
I'll agree with that.
I'll put that on my list.
Thanks, Sean.
Anything else? The ones that we've at least deleted, just so I can give you a cleaner copy of this next time. So it looks so chaotic, right? And definitely take some time if you'd like to review anything ahead of time in the next week or so and give me the feedback. I'll integrate it into the next round. But I'll clean this up a little bit. You'll have both the version I already gave you to review today, and then this new one with, these suggestions to look at and debate in your mind about what you think should happen, and what needs to be there. And then I will try to send it out to you sooner than later so you can get a chance to review it.
Any last comments?
I would only, just add that you asked if some of these other
Oh, yeah.
proposed deletions should stay, and I don't know how to answer that, unless I know they're essentially they're going to the technology, or the security component, then I say, okay, great. But, I don't know that, so.
If you tell me, is there one you're specifically you might have already, and I'll touch base with Bill too, and try to draft a little bit about what are we responsible for as users in the system, security-wise.
I think Jeff's suggestion to check with the county to see
Oh, yeah, that's
where
what it
they
is,
are
for sure, too,
would
yeah.
be most helpful. Any other comments?
Thank you, Sean.
Oh, sure.
Okay. In our packet, we have a special event permit application from the Webster Township Historical Society. Thelma, you've been waiting all night for this. Tell us what you wish to do.
Well, this is a repeat event. We had the first one last year. We want to make it a little bigger and better this year, since we won't have the ribbon cutting ceremony. We will have 4 bands instead of 3, 2 food trucks. The time period is 12 to 5 p.m. Just lots of entertainment, more activities for the children. Our buildings will be open. Just fun for everybody, jam circles, and that's kind of the sum of what would be going on.
Okay, any questions, board members?
No animals this year?
No animal, none of this event. We didn't have animals this year. So that's the fall festival, which is next month. No animals, no alcohol.
And so we're potentially in the midst of a parking lot reconstruction project.
Okay, tell me how that, what's the timing of this event? This is August 3rd.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow,
Well, very soon.
okay?
And it will not be occurring during the 2 elections that we have coming, so they have to work around that.
When's the election, Barb?
So that'll be good, it's August 6th.
Yeah, so it should be good.
You'll be good, you'll be
This is
good.
August 3rd.
August
Yeah.
They're gonna time it so it's not during the election period, so you're on August 3rd.
There might be still sweeping up.
Thank you, okay.
I also believe they said they were gonna do that section first.
I don't know.
Well, it's
They're gonna
it's gonna
phase
be
it.
asphalt, it's easy, they don't have to tear anything up, just have to move dirt.
Well, they have the base.
Yeah, move dirt.
I think you'll be okay, Dawn.
Well, some of it's gonna be at your own risk, you realize.
It always is. I mean, seriously, you know.
Tell me, you mentioned 2 food trucks. What's your location plan for those?
They will be, they'll pull in the cross from Webster Church entrance and pretty much be along the walk there. Such that handicapped people can reach them without, going too far.
Have you talked to the fire department about the food trucks that you plan to use
I have been in touch with Armstrong.
on this topic in particular?
Not in particular.
Yeah,
but-
I would ask you to talk to him, because the fire department is licensing the food trucks, and they don't want food trucks in our service area that haven't been licensed by the fire department.
Okay. I will take.
They're
note.
licensing them in addition to.
They're checking them for safety.
Interesting, okay.
It's not anything to do with the quality of the food.
No, so there's the proper fire suppression systems and things like that.
Okay. Makes sense.
Thelma, will you provide me with the phone and email for Beth as an alternate contact
Sure.
at your convenience?
Oh, sure, sure. I'm making them do that, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Is there any type of motion?
I move to approve the special event permit from the Webster Township Historical Society for the event on August the 3rd.
I'll support that.
Any conditions?
some conditions.
Well, provided they're, the food truck.
Provided the fire department signs off on the food trucks.
You're okay with it? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Festival permit, we need a roll call. Barb?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Can you ask a question?
One question, in regards to the licensing of the food trucks. These food trucks are out of Ann Arbor. Does it matter the fire, I mean?
The fire will happen here, not in Ann Arbor, so.
Well, it's true, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, you should talk with Doug in terms of how they handle, Mr. Chief Armstrong.
Okay, great.
Or the food truck vendor themselves, they may have already obtained the certification. If they've done anything, extra, or, so they may have it already.
Okay, good point. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have another festival permit application. I don't see Father Walsh here. He's suggesting that they have their annual summer festival July 12th, 13th, and 14th. You have the application in front of you with documentation.
They have all their ducks in a row, I think.
Yeah, looks like it.
I think they've been through this before.
Yep.
Boy, they got a lot going on.
So they're essentially asking for approval contingent upon them renewing your insurance policy, which expires on June 30th.
Yes, she's communicated with me that they will provide that when they have it.
Any type of motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the event permit for the St. Joseph Parish Summer Festival scheduled for July 12th through July 14th, no rain date scheduled.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion?
It sounds like knockleball could be mayhem.
Okay, roll call. Aye?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay. Dexter, senior citizen, this is contract, what we really have is a bill.
There's an agreement.
You have an agreement.
There is an agreement.
There's an agreement and then a bill.
All fulfilled agreement. I have no knowledge of any agreement.
Here it is.
Okay, we do have agreement.
There's no signature lines.
Yeah, there's no signature block.
I'm also curious on the agreement, item number 4. You're saying they're going to provide that data to the Webster Board representative. That need to be defined.
I think that's Sharp, right?
Mr. Sherwood.
Oh, okay. So John, will you request that?
I didn't know I was I did not see this before it came in. I was under the impression that the invoice was gonna be for 50,000 for operations and 30,000 for capital projects. And they're specifically mentioned in here somewhere.
I don't see it. I must have missed it when I read it.
And John, Sharp, is the budget 80,000?
Yeah, the budget is, I think for 82,000, if I'm not mistaken. I can look that up.
Thank you.
Over aggressive with the stapler.
Okay, are we going to take any kind of action here, or what are we going to do?
Well, I still think we're paying way more than our share on this.
Well, without the numbers, we don't know.
I know, and we didn't necessarily get the numbers of what the other townships have as far as the members and what they're paying and all that. And just from the stuff that we saw last year, I mean, we have a substantial amount of what we're picking up versus what Dexter Township, Scioto Township is picking up, even the city. So, I mean, when she gave us the numbers, she did say we had X amount of members from Webster.
What was that number?
I don't remember, but it was,
44?
I believe it was.
yeah, out of 300 or something like that. And and we're paying the most out of all of the government agencies that are putting in for it.
So you
I'd
have,
like to see that disparity
so
remedied.
The only thing I would say to that is, I think that we should pay our fair share,
I agree.
but we shouldn't measure our fair share on whether or not the others are paying their fair share. We should still pay our fair share.
Sure.
so it doesn't tell us what their total budget is.
No.
So how do we determine what 44 people out of 300 versus, X number of dollars is?
And I mean, that could be different too. If we have 44 and they're delivering Meals on Wheels to our 44 all the time, that could change things too. But I'd like a little bit more detail on what we're paying for with regards to that percentage and that total.
Is that a motion?
I asked for it before and I just don't think we got it. So yes, I would like a motion that for more detail with regards to the percentages. And these services too. Like I said, it would justify it paying more if we're getting more services like Meals on Wheels or whatnot for the citizens here.
Or if they based it just on, I'll second that, by the way.
Okay.
Or if they based it just on percentage of population of people in a certain age group from Webster, you know what I mean, like,
Sure.
there's gotta be a way they calculated it to get to this this number for us specifically, so if it's fair, it's fair, you're right, they have told us.
So let me get this clear in my mind. The motion is to delay entering into an agreement and paying $80,000 to the Dexter senior citizens until we are given the analysis of how they service our constituents.
Yes.
Or how they came up with it.
And how it is in relation to the cost, their overall cost, what services they're providing, at what rate,
Those are the details.
and what other townships and cities and villages are paying.
As a friendly amendment, that they revise their contract
do we want, I thought we had a reasonable interaction with the new executive director. And in my mind, I'm hung up on the notion that it was gonna be 50,000 for operations and 30,000 for some of the things that weren't affordable in the design of the new senior center. Now, since that time, Congresswoman Dingell's office has announced that another $850,000 is coming to the senior center. Well, yeah, to the senior center or to the community center, to the project as a whole. But it does more than overcome the negative balance on the budget for the project.
You mean the 90,000 specifically?
The $850,000 from the federal government, we were about $200,000 underwater on the project. But then there was also an additional list of
90,000.
want-to-haves, which included something like a $70,000 standby generator.
They had 3 items at 30,000 each.
Yeah, that was something to enhance hearing. One was for flooring. Flooring was the one that I was most personally interested in, because the current, well, the base floor was polished concrete. Now they've got something called marmoleum, which I personally don't know what that is.
Sounds like
I think it's a newer version of linoleum, but I don't know.
I think it's marble linoleum. Marble.
John, is your concern that if we don't designate
Well, I think we should.
30,000, that they'll spend it all on programs, or they'll spend it all on?
It's really hard to know what they'll spend it on right now, because they're really literally at the point of being pushed right out the door of their current home. The new temporary home is not ready. We just made arrangements to have the space repaired and painted. There's going to be expenses related to moving, and then there's going to be another move, you know, a year later. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the future.
You know, typically I would really love to make sure that all the money goes to programming, right? That, especially in this case when they're getting so much capital. But I also want to say that as they're transitioning to new leadership and they have a lot of unexpected transition in their capital, in their actual building, that it's might be just more helpful to them to not designate the funds and to leave it as $80,000 for them to be able to flexibly.
The need is there, for sure the need is there. I have no doubt that they'll put the money to good use. I don't like the notion of tying it to the current membership, because the membership to me is anemically small right now, and I anticipate that the membership is going to grow.
Now, I agree with that, and I'm not against doing it. I just want to see an accounting, because not this year, but last year, when the gentleman was here that was talking about it, I asked him why the change, why we went up so much, and he basically said it was to pay for the director's salary. That was what the increase of basically our bill doubling was paying for the director. And that is not a valuable service per se. I mean, obviously you've got to do program coordination, I get all that. But it's, when we're paying the lion's share of the director's salary, that's not right.
You know, assumedly the hiring the director is the person who then raises money.
Right.
Right, and I think they just, as they have acknowledged, that wasn't their initial investment, and that wasn't a good match. So hopefully this next round is.
I don't want to put him in a bind, but I also don't want to, keep going down this road. So.
Well, I don't think that as a township, we can take taxpayer money and tell people that we're providing service to 44 people and not have any type of documentation of what's, why it's 80,000 to service 44 people and so on. I think we need to, in spite of maybe Webster Township's participation might be 88,000 or 88 people next time. But we need to have some idea of where they're at today and where they anticipate being by the time they get through spending our $80,000.
I think the 44 are people who are signed in as members. I don't think that the Meals on Wheels, you have to number necessarily to receive the benefit.
I don't think so either.
No.
That would be, completely separate list of people. So you're right, it could be 88 in total that are receiving benefits in some manner, or more. We don't know that. To your point.
Okay, we have a motion in front of us basically to delay consideration of the contract with the Dexter Senior Citizens Center until we have more information on how our money is going to be spent.
And John, you'll convey all that to them?
We have a board meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock at the Wellness Center, if you'd like to come.
Is that 4 o'clock a.m.?
It's 4 o'clock p.m.
Oh, they're making a more meeting.
Or maybe it's 3 o'clock. Make sure I give the right information.
Can you see?
I'll be able to see by then.
Okay, since we aren't paying out money, those in favor of
Yeah,
the
it's at 4 o'clock.
motion to postpone decision on this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We didn't give a date as to when it's postponed, but we did give a synopsis of what we need.
I hope we'll have it the next time.
I'll bring this to
Or before.
I'll bring this to the board tomorrow.
Okay, waive. We have a waive invoice for $22,900.
I move that we pay the waiver first.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Well, seeing none, Mr. Mansell.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Budget amendment.
I have two budget amendments I'd like to propose. I'll do them one at a time. Last month, this body authorized me to transfer $600,000 from the general fund to the capital improvement fund, which I did. But I haven't been able to account for that move because we put in the budget for receiving the money into the capital improvement fund, but we didn't account for the disbursement of the money out of the general fund. So I would move that we amend the budget line item 101-966-995.401 to $600,000, which is operating transfer out of the general fund to the capital improvement fund.
I'll second that. Further discussion? Okay, those in favor of amending the budget, item number 101-966-955.001 to $600,000.
The number.
995.401.
995.401.
That's what we need in the ring. Okay, let's try that again. 101 666-995-401
Correct,
to 600,000.
yes.
Do we have a second for that?
Yeah, I did.
Yes, it's
Okay.
Sharp is the
Well, I
motion.
made the
Gary
motion, you seconded it.
Oh, thank you. I was just thinking, yes, okay, it's a roll call. Mr. Harms?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Go ahead, John.
I have another amendment I'd like to propose, which is the current budget, as previous budgets, reflected a parking lot expense of $450,000. The proposal that we accepted at the last meeting was for $842,000. So we need to amend the parking lot and grounds item 401-265-930.001 from 450,000 increased by 392,000 to a total of 842,000.
Second.
Okay, further discussion?
And that was including what were they, the two extra things, which was changing it to concrete and
that was
including the
for,
second lot.
correct. And that also includes the contingency.
Any further discussion? Okay, we have a budget amendment proposed in line item 401-265-930.001 from 450,000 to 842,000. Roll call, Mr. Munzel.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, MTA renewal. Currently, any of our boards members of our boards can weigh in and get information from the MTA because we have our premium pass. The price has gone up a few dollars from last year, I believe.
No, same.
It's the same? I thought it was 1,800.
No,
Okay.
1900.
Okay, do we wish to do the same thing? I'm not sure everybody is availing themselves of these webinars and so on, training sessions. It'd be nice if people did, if we're going to spend money.
Probably not, but because we are in an election year, the possibility of some new people coming in at the end of the year, I think it's a good idea that we continue on with the premium, just in case.
I second it. Yes. I assume that was a motion.
Okay, further discussion?
It was discussion, but it could be a motion.
Harms and Versick?
I support this.
Okay, money, roll call, Harms.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, building repair quotes, we don't have anything in front of us tonight. We did get 3 separate quotes today after business hours. They are for hanging or replacing the gutter along the back. They're doing brickwork on these 2 pillars out here that were damaged, and for,
Shutters, if we decided to purchase shutters and hang them. So there's 3 separate quotes. I got a handyman to come out and look around. So they're in Linda's
Third one.
email.
the third one is the shutters. The shutter replacement.
Do we want to have brickwork on those? You're talking about the ones that are right there where it touches the parking lot?
Yeah.
And we're
It's
gonna
on the
have,
cement.
I know, but we're gonna have a parking lot done. So we may want to wait on the pillars.
But can we add them
Oh, yeah,
the gutter,
yeah.
the quotes?
I'm just thinking if they start ripping stuff up, I'd hate to fix that and then have them damage it again.
I agree.
I
That's
mean,
why
we can
there's,
make
that's
them
why,
fix it,
he
but-
said 3 separate,
Yeah,
and
So what we're looking for is,
How much is it to fix the gutter?
I don't know yet, it's in Linda's email that came after work, so if we could authorize Mr. Kingsley to act on it, I think someone else is putting a quote in that Mr. Kingsley can look at the quotes that are coming in and act to get that, just that one thing
We're-
fixed.
if the entire gutter is replaced and, as opposed to put back up, and different hangers put on to hopefully assure that the spikes don't pull out like they've been doing for the last,
Tori
15
thought only
years.
one section needed to be replaced in the gutter.
yeah. It's gonna be in the neighborhood of $500, just for that.
we could,
We don't need to vote on it. We
Yeah. And the same thing with the brickwork, we could still get it done, just wait, I mean, we're planning on the parking lot in the next couple of months, just do it after.
I think that's a good suggestion. In terms of the shutters, we haven't made any decisions on what to do with the shutters yet, but we would coordinate with the, anything that we need to do on the end of the building for the new siding and so on. Okay, we are going to vote on that. We'll let you know where we're at next month. Proposed PDR newsletter. You have in your packet a very colorful brochure, I don't know what you call it, a page to go in with the tax bill. And you have in your packet a quote of how much that's going to cost. And basically, it's $820.68. John says it's not any additional postage. The rest of it is routine charges that we receive when we do send out the tax bill. So basically, we're talking about an increase of $821.
Which I would point out is dedicated PDR funding, it is not general fund money.
Correct. That just complicates things for Bart, but you are correct. Did you want to make that a motion, John?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second? I'll second it. Okay.
Who did
Further
the first?
discussion?
Yes. Kingsley.
I have, if it's the appropriate time, some comments on the newsletter.
Most appropriate time.
Thank you.
And I was just gonna say that Julie Frost and Barry Lonick are the ones that put this thing together. And if anybody has any feedback, they would like to have it right away, so that they can make any edits that might be needed. That's the draft date on this.
This would be basically the middle of June.
Oh, so we've got a month.
Dan?
If you read, I haven't had a chance to proofread this at all. So take a look at it. If you see something that you think needs to be different, or just a typo or anything like that, why, I guess let me know and I'll pass it along.
Dan, you had a comment?
Yes, John, just a suggestion, within the text on the first page, when we talk about the appraisal and survey, environmental assessment, all at township expense, I think that should be rephrased to be paid for through funds from the preservation millage. So just, that's for consideration.
Okay.
And then I think, probably more importantly, I believe that all the numbering on the map and the description of the easement properties, they're not accurate. It's all goofed up. In terms of the number on the map relative to what's listed here.
Okay.
So that needs to be corrected, and then I don't know about the photos themselves. I don't know if we know what these properties look like and what the photo is, but that should probably be verified that they are in alignment with the numbering.
Just email me any edits.
The website needs to be corrected. That's the old website address.
What's that?
The website address is not correct. It needs to be the new one.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I highlighted it in yellow.
Again, a roll call. What did we call it last time? I think this one's Barb.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. John, you've got some.
There's PDR millage ballot language.
Yeah. Yep. Tell us about it.
Well, the only, I've brought this informally to the board actually for the last couple of years. We're coming up on a deadline. I'm not sure what that would be, depending on, number one, if we are interested in attempting to accomplish a millage renewal. That would either be in August or November, and of course the deadlines would be different for each. But from the PDR board's perspective, we just want to make sure that whatever the township board decides to do with this, that there is properly prepared language so that that doesn't become an issue. The PDR board recognizes that the township board may not decide to ask that the millage be renewed. I know nothing about the proper preparation of ballot language, so I know what the agenda says, and I know what our PDR minutes said. Our folks asked for a legal review. I'm not sure that we really need a legal review. We need a review of what appropriate language would be so that it doesn't get rejected at some point in the future.
Barb, what's the deadline if we were to put a millage on the August?
August would be May 16th, and for November would be August 16th. That we would need to submit language to the county.
Okay, so if we want it in August, we need to make either movement tonight or have a special meeting. If we want to put it on in November, we can.
Well, our preference is November.
Okay.
That's when, yeah, Barry, we spoke with Barry and he thought November, when there's more people
He said,
voting.
me, and I think you were on the email where he stated that it was the committee's or board request that it be placed on November because of the higher potential turnout of voters.
Okay, so does the board wish to move forward with this, the request tonight is for us to send this on to the legal beagles and make sure that it's properly worded.
I think Mr. Sharp has a comment. Mr. Sharp has a comment?
Yeah.
So the county has a strategy that they are actively implementing on millage activity. If we want to do this, I would encourage us to do it for the August ballot, because I think by the time we get to November, there's going to be millage fatigue. There's going to be multiple millages from the county in August and November. The other thing I would like to say is, I personally am not in favor of trying to do the Headley override. If we want to renew this for 10 years, I think that's great. Or if the citizens want to renew it for 10 years, but I don't see the necessity to increase it by another 0.0265 mils. It's an insignificant amount of money, and it is a tax increase. So I personally don't like that.
Other comments, board members?
John, what was the term of the last millage that was approved?
10 years.
So 10 years ago.
Is there any type of motion here?
Well, I'm not sure what it would be, but I would move that we submit this proposed millage language document with Mr. Sharp's revisions for legal review.
I'll second that. The $250,000 number probably needs to be recalculated. It'd be something slightly smaller.
It's going to be 220, 230. Okay, we could fix that part.
Well, the purpose of the PDR we're doing this was just to get the process in motion. And so that if there need to be changes like that, they get done now, not today before it has to be submitted.
Okay, this is a millage proposal. We need to do a roll call. Let me clarify what the request is. It's for a renewal of 0.4735 of a mil for 10 years. And we would be forwarding this to our attorney for legal review for placement on the August ballot. Okay, roll call. Aye. Oh, is there a question?
Yeah, there was a question, just real quick. So we do our part with this. Are all the other players still engaged with this? Because we get money from the state with regards to this, right?
Yeah.
When we're buying, and from the county, or from parks.
And federal.
And federal. So everybody is still, they're still engaged with the program and doing all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The county has vast amounts of money to spend.
Okay.
Vast amounts of your money.
Well, I understand that. I'm acutely aware of that. I didn't say that, that it was government money to spend, but the government doesn't have any money to spend.
And John, what is the level of interest within Webster Township landowners?
What?
What is the interest by Webster Township landowners to participate?
Oh, we solicited up several just in the last couple months. We're not getting the 100-plus acre parcels, but we are getting parcels that are adjacent to previously preserved parcels, so we can build on the block. We're not interested in pursuing isolated parcels, but if we can find, if we have applications for smaller parcels that just increase the size of our preserved blocks, this is what we're looking for, and we do have several of those applications that are new. So there is interest.
Mr. Harms?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll be pinning this off tomorrow. Recalculate. Okay. Banking resolution, Mr. Sharp.
So, in recognition of Dave Daly's comment, I apologize to this board and the public for the late arrival of this item. I received an email from the Huntington Bank on Monday, and they are struggling to exercise our paperwork. I refused to sign their contract that they had, which basically was a license to steal. It had language in it that I could go to the bank or Tony could go to the bank and we could get the money in cash or have it made out to ourselves or transferred to our own personal accounts, and I wouldn't sign it. So you have in front of you a resolution 0824, which includes language directly from the email that is attached, which would authorize the treasurer and/or the deputy treasurer to do banking with Huntington. Huntington is listed in our investment policy as one of the authorized institutions. I do have that authority by statute. But they needed this in this language. So I'm moving this resolution 0824 to authorize the deputy treasurer and the treasurer to bank with Huntington as presented.
I'll second.
Further discussion on the resolution?
The final version, I don't know if it made it to your table, does have an additional signature line because Huntington requested that the signature of Barb Collegia be witnessed.
It'll be witnessed by Donna. I have the document.
Any further discussion? I think I missed the last roll call. Aye?
Aye.
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 Motion carried, or resolution 08-24 passes.
Thank you.
Correspondence.
You have the most recent attorney's invoices.
Any questions on that? Call to the public.
Dave Daly, 7223 Boulder. I've just got a couple of bullets here. So Washington Engineering last month said that they would provide a site plan for posting. Is there an update on that?
They have not provided that yet.
Okay, so if we could follow up on that. Second, we've got the signs up that say subscribe for email updates. I'm still not receiving any. I don't think anybody's receiving any that, there's the QR code that's posted on the window up front. I know I signed up for it and nothing. One question I've got, Webster Township, for whatever reason, is not offered yard waste disposal by GFL or Waste Management. Yet Scioto Township is. And when we moved from Scioto Township to Webster 3 years ago, we're paying the same exact bill to GFL, and we don't take yard waste. Is there something that the township can discuss with GFL or Waste Management? I mean, otherwise, residents have to back up, either they have enough land that they can just dump it, or they have to pack it up and they have to take it to the dump and be charged $60 a truckload. So I know you were looking for something like, you know, park and rec, you know, for the taxpayers. Maybe this is something that would help out. This is yard waste season. And then, I don't, is the bubbler in the hallway, is that just for looks? The water fountain? I mean, in Wisconsin, we call them bubblers, so.
It's been off since COVID.
Oh.
He misses it.
Just.
It actually works.
Okay, thank you.
It's just disconnected. See no further comment, concerns, board members.
I don't have any concerns, but I'm on the Natural Features Committee, and Kay isn't here, but she has now.
He is here.
Oh, you moved. You're gonna laugh at me then. Kay gave us a document, land use for a healthy watershed, that was put out by the Bureau of Watershed Council, and the first chapter is really about how the water cycle flows, which turns out to be pretty critical in terms of our infrastructure here in Webster Township. And the second chapter is about how government governing bodies can help support that. So I just wanted to make a recommendation to this group to try to get a chance to read it, because it's a really informative document. It's not boring. It's it's well written and really gives an understanding of how lucky we are in Webster Township.
Other comments?
I have one. I had a call from a resident, an elderly resident, that's trying to work out how she could get from her home to the Dexter Senior Center. And since I'm a representative on wage, she wanted to talk to me. In talking with her and what it might cost her to go from her house to get to the senior center and back, it might be a hardship for her. And she kept asking me about like vouchers or passes that the township would have here. So I kind of spoke with her that we give money to WAVE, and the township also gives money to the senior center. That was my thought, that maybe the senior center could be providing vouchers for their people. But I told her that I would take it up with the board, and when I attend the WAVE meeting, I will talk to Marie about what it might cost the township to have some vouchers here for some residents to have. Is that something you might consider if I got a cost on that, or how do you feel?
I think we need to figure out a way to engage more seniors in the senior center. I'd like to see what the plan is for the senior center to do that. I mean, particularly surrounding the idea that it's not located in our town. So how can we engage, could WAVE and the senior center have an agreement or something where they,
I know the Chelsea Senior Center did stop giving to WAVE, but they are purchasing vouchers. It's something, it costs so much per voucher, and then they can have it, clipped. But if it costs her $10 to get there and $10 to get back, that's a hardship. I know WAVE is trying to move to doing all free, not taking any money, and we'd only have to replace $30,000 on our budget. That's all they really take in for their rides, and it would just mean the townships, whoever, giving up a little extra money to cover that cost, and I think that would be very helpful. but I just felt really bad for her.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd take it up with you guys. I'll get information from Wade to see. I mean, if we give them $80,000, I mean, I told her we give $80,000 probably to the senior center, and she's aware, and she was aware that we give more than, you know, surrounding townships, but she kept coming back to these, you know, a pass or something that we could hand out, so.
What part of the township is she in? Just generally.
I can't remember, I have her road written down, I did write it down.
Taylor, are you thinking about starting a little taxi service?
If I bought a van, Dan, would you drive it?
Any other comments?
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.